The Portland Trail Blazers just did something that, the more I think about it, the more I love it.
With the 7th pick in the 2022 NBA Draft, the Portland Trail Blazers select Shaedon Sharpe from London, Ontario, and the University of Kentucky.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. After months and months of drafts talk here on the channel, the road is over. The journey is finished. The dust has settled, and the Blazers got maybe the highest ceiling guy in the entire draft, as they took Shaedon Sharpe 7th overall. Now, I will have another video for their second to last pick in the draft, in which they took Jabari Walker 57th overall. But the first one, we're going to start off with Shaedon Sharpe. Now, if you missed the draft stream yesterday, you can see mine and Eric's reaction to every pick that every team made. We have graphics on the left where you can keep track of where we were in the draft, so definitely go check that out if you want to. So starting off with Shaedon Sharpe's story, he's from Canada, from London, Ontario, and he wasn't a highly regarded basketball prospect when he entered high school, but he blew up over the course of his high school career, going in one season from outside the top 100 in terms of recruiting rankings to the #1 player in the class of 2022 according to ESPN. He then committed to the University of Kentucky, and then he showed up at Kentucky about halfway through this past year's college basketball season. He showed up early, but he didn't end up playing, even though he was allowed to. By his own words, he said that he wanted to prepare for the draft, and then he entered the draft, ended up getting picked 7th overall to the Portland Trail Blazers. Now, there was some criticism of him and his decision not to play. However, he was joining a team halfway through the season, and by all accounts, it wasn't due to the fact that he could not play at that level. There is multiple people that said Shaedon Sharpe was the best player on the floor during Kentucky's basketball practices, and this is a Kentucky team that had Ty Washington and Oscar Tshiebwe, who was the player of the year last year. Ty Washington went 29th to the Rockets, and this Kentucky team was one of the best teams in the nation this past season, ended up getting a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. So Shaedon Sharpe was supposedly the best player on the floor during those practices, and if next year he had gone back to Kentucky, which is what everybody thought the path was going to be initially, then he could have been a top 3 overall pick in next year's draft. Now, next year's draft is a more stacked draft. However, he has that type of natural talent. You don't become the #1 player in your high school class for nothing, but the fact that he hadn't played college basketball and the fact that teams hadn't seen him in a year caused him to slip a little bit in the 2022 NBA draft, falling to the 7th overall pick for the Portland Trail Blazers. And there's a chance that Portland might have just hit the lottery by getting a guy who's a top tier talent. Could have maybe been the #1 overall pick in this year's draft had he played some college basketball, but instead they're taking a risk on an unknown guy with an immense amount of talent. The more that I watch Shaedon Sharpe's film, the more I came to a conclusion with a comparison for him that I hadn't really made before. Let me set up that comparison. Shaedon Sharpe's measurements: without shoes, he's 6'4" and a quarter in terms of height. He does have a 6'11" and a half foot wingspan, so basically 7 feet. His standing reach is 8'7" and a half. When people look at his height, they think he's too small to play the small forward position. However, I beg to differ. When you look at standing reach, which I think is the most important trait for determining if a guy is too undersized to play a position, as when you contest shots, you reach up. When you grab rebounds, you reach up. When you shoot, your release point is going to be higher if you have a higher standing reach. I look at standing reach first and foremost, and then I look at wingspan, and then I look at height. I don't care where the top of your head is, I care where your hands are. That you play basketball with your hands, not the top of your head. So when you look at standing reach and you compare Sharpe to other NBA small forwards or guys that play a lot of small forward, he doesn't grade out badly. For instance, Jaylen Brown has an 8'6" and a half standing reach. That's shorter. Miles Bridges has an identical 8'7" standing reach. Josh Hart, who is competitive at a small forward position, has a standing reach that is 2.5 inches shorter than Shaedon Sharpe's. Dylan Brooks' standing reach is 3 inches shorter than him. Jake Crowder's standing reach, he plays the 4. Jake Crowder's standing reach is 4 inches shorter than Shaedon Sharpe's. Here are some other players whose standing reach is equal or shorter than Shaedon Sharpe's. Cam Johnson, Doug McDermott, Kevin Porter Jr., Tobias Harris, Evan Fournier, Gordon Hayward, and the following are all at least an inch shorter than Shaedon Sharpe's. You have DeMar DeRozan, Jaylen Brown, Kelly Oubre, Jake Layman, Karis LeVert, Dorian Finney-Smith, Brandon Clark, Dylan Brooks, Harrison Barnes, Joe Harris, and Jimmy Butler. So yeah, this video turned into me listing a bunch of names, not too thrilling, but I really wanted to hammer home the point that I think this dude can play the small forward position in the NBA. Now, he needs to add strength, but he looks like he has a frame that is going to put on strength, get him in an NBA strength and conditioning program, and I think that dude, I mean, I expect him to be like 10 pounds stronger going into next season. That's too ambitious, but the dude's gonna put on weight. I have no worry about him getting stronger as a player, and size-wise, I mean, you gotta look past height. You gotta look at standing reach. Shaedon Sharpe is not just a guard. He can play the small forward position, which makes me happier with this pick because his potential on the offensive end is enormous, and he can play the small forward position. And my whole offseason has been around how the Blazers need to take swings for the fences. They need to raise their ceiling, whether that's now or for the longer term. And I think Shaedon Sharpe does just that. When watching his game and then watching some film from another NBA player, I found a comparison for him that I really like. And I don't know why I'm pretending like I didn't put the comparison in the thumbnail. So the comparison is Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards supposedly has an 8'3", 8'4"-ish standing reach, but he was the starting small forward for the Minnesota Timberwolves this last year when the Timberwolves went on a playoff run. The Timberwolves would start D'Angelo Russell, Patrick Beverley, Anthony Edwards, Jared Vanderbilt, and Karl Anthony Towns. Anthony Edwards is the starting small forward for the Minnesota Timberwolves, and he is much smaller than Shaedon Sharpe. Both of them are freak athletes. Both of them have shown the ability to hit some impressive off-the-dribble three-point shots. Obviously, Anthony Edwards is established as a really good NBA player, but watching Shaedon Sharpe gave me vibes of an Anthony Edwards, and I'm hopeful that Shaedon Sharpe can have the same sort of growth curve as an Anthony Edwards. Now, Anthony Edwards is a lot stronger, he uses his body really well, and he's quicker off the dribble, a little quicker first step, and he's a better ball handler. Those are things that Sharpe needs to improve, but you put Sharpe into Portland, which I think is the perfect situation for him to develop. You give him Damian Lillard as a mentor, and we've already seen Damian Lillard's mentorship foster a budding star in Anthony Simons. And I think the sky's the limit for Shaedon Sharpe, and I'm really excited to see what happens there. The way he moves, how light he is on his feet, how quick his feet are on some of his moves, the fact that Sharpe can create a lot of space on step back threes, but then shoot those threes on balance and seemingly shoot them the same way almost every time. I think Shaedon Sharpe has a great foundation to build upon, and that's why people think he has a really high ceiling. You just don't teach people to be as athletic as he is and to move the way he does, and he's already shown some tremendous flashes of some creation ability, and I think he can be a go-to scorer in the league, and I think Portland is a great situation to help bring that out of him in the long term. Defensively, Shaedon Sharpe is a work in progress, but he does have the physical tools to be a good defensive player. He moves decent laterally, and as I said, he's freakishly athletic, so he can block some shots around the rim even, and when he gets locked in, he can be a competitor and be a guy that can actually get up into the ball a little bit. However, he does fall asleep a lot, and his motor is inconsistent. That's the case for a lot of young players, but I feel like he has the chance to be a good NBA defender. So that's why I like this pick. Dyson Daniels was on the board. I had him higher on my big board, but I absolutely respect swinging for the fences and going for some upside. I never have a problem with that, and I think there might be a chance that it pays off a little bit sooner than people expect, but I have no idea. This could be a guy who isn't ready to play for 2 years. This could be a guy who's ready to play next year. Given his size at the 3, I wouldn't mind bringing him off the bench at the backup small forward position and starting Nasir Little to be that on-ball defender in the starting lineup. Yes, that isn't maybe as good as having OG Anunoby in the starting lineup and then Nasir Little off the bench, but that roster has a lot of upside. You have Anthony Simons, hopefully he continues to develop. Hopefully Nasir Little can have a fourth-year breakout just like Anthony Simons did, and then hopefully Shaedon Sharpe can pop and maybe he can be solid as a rookie. That would be my hope. Because the more Sharpe plays early on, I think the better for him and his development. This is a dude that hasn't played college basketball and could use some reps at the highest levels. He's going to go through some growing pains, and that is to be expected. People will need to be patient with him and not come to vast conclusions too early on, but this dude's natural talent suggests that he could maybe be okay on an NBA court right away. We'll have to wait and see. We'll get our first taste of what Shaedon Sharpe has to offer in Summer League. Summer League tips off July 7th, and in the first matchup, we will have an intriguing battle between Sharpe and the 5th overall pick, Jaden Ivey for the Detroit Pistons. This will put Sharpe up against the top guard prospect in the draft and will give him an immediate challenge. Honestly, Sharpe should not be able to hang with Jaden Ivey right off the bat in that game. He hasn't played against that level of competition maybe ever. Jaden Ivey is coming off 2 years of college basketball, played at the FIBA Under-19 World Cup last offseason, and is absolutely proven. If Sharpe can compete with Jaden Ivey in that sort of game, then it may suggest that he's ready to play in the NBA right away. Now, you don't want to make too many assumptions off of Summer League, but it will be an interesting measuring stick for Shaedon Sharpe to see where exactly he's at right now. Regardless, nothing could happen in Summer League that would change my long-term outlook for Shaedon Sharpe. I think the sky's the limit for him. There's a lot of things he needs to improve on, but he just has to put in the work in order to do that. If he's able to fulfill his potential, I could see Sharpe being a borderline superstar. I said that before the Blazers drafted him, and I'll say it now. His physical profile, athleticism, and shot creation flashes suggest that this dude's potential is becoming one of the elite players in the NBA. Now, he has a long way to go, but if you watch him enough, you can see the upside. And everybody wants to talk about how Dame's window is short, and therefore the Blazers shouldn't draft a guy like a Shaedon Sharpe. However, I believe that drafting a guy with this level of upside actually extends Dame's window to win a championship in Portland out 6, 7, maybe even 8 years, because I think Damian Lillard at age 36, age 37 could still potentially be a third option on a championship team. And when you have Anthony Simons and now Shaedon Sharpe, those two players have such vast potential on the offensive end that I could see them being the best two players on a championship contending team. Now, that is not a prediction, and that is an optimistic outlook, but if we're talking about pure upside, this type of pick actually gives Dame a chance to win championships into his late 30s, because Shaedon Sharpe has the chance to be a legitimate all-star, maybe even superstar caliber player by then. Anyway, let me know what you think about the Shaedon Sharpe pick down below. Let me know what you'd grade it. Let me know what your hope is for him next year. Let me know what role you want him to play next year, and if you want him to play actual minutes. We had stream chat up during the pick, so we already know how a lot of you feel, but still leave your comment in the comment section down below. I'm really excited to see what this kid can do. We will have some sort of Summer League coverage. I'm really excited to see our Summer League team. It's going to be a lot of fun. You got him, you got Keon Johnson, you got Greg Brown, you got some athletes on that team. But anyway, I'm looking forward to it. I'll have a Jabari Walker video later tonight, and until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers!